Welcome to the bold. Just imagine that the son of Madeira, Rigathi Gachagua, is our president as we speak now. William Samoei Ruto flew out of the country this evening, Sunday evening, for a 2 days trip, a state trip to Germany and Belgium. And in his itinerary, I've realized, looking at the plan, he's going to meet high-profile leaders and head of governments from both the two nations. He's also going to address some conference there, and apart from the usual the building relations between the two countries, he's also going to hold another meeting by the European Union representatives in Berlin, apart from interacting with Kenyans in diaspora. William Ruto is going out of the country at a time when the tension is high because of the mass action that the opposition team have called the masses on the street to protest about some of the things that are not going right in the administration of the day. In this context, I got a soundbite of a TikToker calling on what he actually wrote a letter, according to him, a letter to Rigathi Gachagua on what exactly is playing out. And I think he has really tried to explain this more into details. I think this soundbite will give us a good perspective. It's one that's nice to listen to.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Dear Mr. Gachagua, last week at such a time, I did for you a letter. And I told you something that I want to remind you for the second time. And if you can listen to me or somebody can make this video reach you, we shall thank God. But Deputy President, I told you last week that for Moi to have ruled for 24 years, there's one thing that he managed to sustain, and that was to ensure that Luos and Kikuyus were always fighting and at loggerheads and viewing each other as enemies. The day Kikuyus and Luos spoke one language, even if it was just one short language in 2002, Moi ceased to exist. For Ruto to rule in this country, Luos must keep fighting with Kikuyus. Bwana Gachagua, the president has jetted out of the country for 4 days. In those 4 days, Bwana Deputy President, on Monday will be the first day the president will be out. You are the one who is going to be in charge. On Thursday is going to be the third day the president is going to be out. Deputy President, you are the one who is going to be in charge. Deputy President, who is the Inspector General? Sakikuyu. Who is in charge when the president is not there? You, a Kikuyu. Who is in charge of the army, Bwana Deputy President? Another Kikuyu. If anything will happen to Raila Amolo Odinga, even if it is orchestrated by the president himself, then he flies out of the country. All blame will be on you. Bwana Deputy President, you have been everywhere chest stamping how you are going to eliminate Raila. Bwana Deputy President, you and Ichung'wa and Nyoro, you have decided to forget another thing that you people you have forgotten the laws of power, the 48 laws of power. Ichung'wa and Nyoro and you have become head-puffed by power. And you feel like you are indispensable, you own this country, you can do anything, you are spewing venom and hatred everywhere. And you think Raila is your biggest enemy. Bwana Gachagua, Nyoro, and...
It is not shocking why then you could see the police boss coming out very fuming, because again, people want to show out that even if the boss is not there, we can still do the work. In his absence, Rigathi Gachagua is standing in as the president. I don't know whether as the commander-in-chief, that can never be. But then he's in charge of, I think he can chair the Security Council that is going on now. Someone was just asking And someone asked me, Kevin, if things are to go wrong by the time William Ruto is away, what do you expect? If things are to go wrong, what do you expect? It's a very delicate time, but I know that for those leaders that have been saying about everything going on, there's something that they're looking. But then I understand that even the president flew with quite advanced members of his family, by the way. Yeah. Questions arise on demos that Azimio has created because they've created instability in the city, the Monday and the Thursday holidays. The president, after charm offensive in Kisii, there is a clear divide. He's going to Belgium and he's going to the foreign trip at a time when there is a clear divide, a clear split on how to deal or to handle Azimio rallies. When the president was in Kisii, he twisted and said that instead of bothering the masses, come and address me. I am the person who competed with you. On the other end, he's remained to be a little bit diplomatic. He turned to be a little bit diplomatic. But on the other side, the deputy, second in command, a man I believe, personally I really think, is the person behind the Nairobi operation, has been combative, daring that we will arrest you and saying the way they will stop at nothing and even go after those who they believe are the financiers of the mass action. So clearly, the question that many people are asking is, what is the William Ruto's message when leaving the country at this moment? Was it that urgent? I've looked at it, nothing so urgent in that trip. It's not nothing, it's not something that's very urgent. But of course, I know the presidential team, advanced team went a bit early. And it's something that was in the offing. Recently, one of, I think, the representatives of the diaspora ministry was in the country. So it's something that has been going on. I want to advance some 4 theories. Of course, no one knows why the president is out, but it's very suspicious. He moves out at a time when there is a split on how to handle Raila-led mass action. I think there are those who believe, and we analyze that those who believe that what is being handled, if it is not mass action, is not handled carefully, is akin to anarchy. There are those who believe that Raila has lost it in the street and you need to just pursue that path and create all the headlines. So I want to believe that by the time President William Ruto was leaving, there was a clear line and his clear message to Rigathi on what to do and looking at both sides. But again, there is a question of, is there something that he knows that we don't know? Because recently we've been seeing the president, I know at this moment, someone was even saying that the security officers can arrest Raila. Why? The president is not in the country. And any attempt or a mass action that is seen to be threatening his legitimacy could be dealt with because the security forces can look at it as if it's a real attempt to remove him from power. By the way, when the mass action discussion started, it was all about Ruto must go. And we were asking where. So someone is asking, and someone is saying that, is it now a possibility now then to arrest Raila and the team? Because when they talk about Ruto must go and plan to storm the State House, if they're to go to State House, then it will really be a real threat because he's not there. So is there something that William Ruto knows that we don't know? And on that ground, on that divide on how to handle mass action, I want to advance some 4 theories why William Ruto could be out of the country. First, before we even look at those theories, there's a question of, did the president just go out and obey that schedule with making sure that, okay, everything happens, expecting that maybe it's not that much, and they want to show the country that, number one, I don't think I'm threatened by what Raila is saying, and I can just run my government. I don't care. I don't need to be around. Do you think it's about to detonate? Because people ask now, if we're going to remove him, or could it be a strategy probably then to find them off guard that if president is leaving, then if people are going to the street, will they go to the street? Ruto must go. Then Ruto is not there. You know, there was supposed to be a petition that was supposed to be taken to State House. Now, clearly, Ruto is not around, so it will not be taken there. If Rigathi is to be there, is the Rigathi the person to receive it? Now, could they then finally allow it to be received? So, somebody is saying maybe they knew very well that if the president is to leave at this time, the Azimio will even stop the mass action and wait until he comes back, because that is the person they need audience with. But it can also be a strategy probably to make sure that those who will respond, or rather the audience, those who will give audience are these leaders and the Rigathi Gachagua. People I don't believe really have the audacity to even give us those responses unless we don't need them, because for them the information is just so extreme. There's some four theories I'm trying to explore. I'm going to look at here. President Dr. William Samoei Ruto is cleverly aiding Rigathi blame strategy. And cleverly and blindly, Rigathi is falling into that trap. For this week, there was a claim that came from Raila. He made a claim that there was a meeting that was held, and this meeting was the Rigathi, Dindi, and Ichung'wa, and that the intention of that meeting was to plan on how to create mayhem on the Azimio. Tonight, on Sunday night, there is also another letter that has come out from Raila Odinga team. I think I saw that letter, and they are saying that probably some mayhem that is being planned against Azimio during that mass action. And he's actually talking about Rigathi. Now, what are you seeing? The Azimio team are narrowing the troubles that they're going through on Rigathi. And clearly that's why you can say that maybe he's the person who is in charge. Remember, by then, in William Ruto's, in Uhuru Kenyatta's reign, the person that used to carry the Rigathi blames now was Matiang'i. But now it is not even Kindiki. The person who is carrying those blames are Matiang'i and Rigathi. Now, Ruto is stepping out, taking a very tactical retreat, or rather a tactical absence from Kenya. It's not really a trip, but it's taking a tactical absence to leave Rigathi to make all the mistakes. Probably, if he makes those mistakes, he'll cleverly, if things are not going right, he will actually carry the blame. One thing I know is Rigathi is not fearing. He's not a man who fears those blames. In fact, he would also want to be that way. The second thing I see is Ruto could be seeking the backing of the Western nations to neutralize Raila escapades, acknowledging one fact that what Raila is doing here, or what Raila is talking about, could have international backing. Believe me, these things don't just happen in vacuum. And I remember we said that the fact that there was a protest called on 20th March, it was not a coincidence. It was not a coincidence. And if you want to know it was not a coincidence, people asked questions and no one responded to queries. Not even Raila Odinga team never said that. They never denied or accepted that there is a relationship between what they were doing in Kenya and what the other African countries were doing on the March 20th. So probably the president is trying, William Ruto is trying to look at it above board, that they will try to seek. I will not be shocked to hear maybe some nations, now European nations, talking about some sanctions, or talking about on how plan then even Raila Odinga then to fly out and try to address the matter. I want to believe that the first Kamkunji one that was held, then Raila went to the US and met the Biden. It was a plan to try to contain the situation, but it flopped. It was not a coincidence that they went to the African Leaders Summit both in the US, and not that they met. They didn't meet. They didn't meet. They met. So probably it was a plan seeking, and Ruto could be going to the Western nations to try help address the problem, and also realize that maybe because you can handle it here with the police, but it also has international bearing. Now, what would then this mean here is Um, Concerned of danger, and I want to try one point before looking at that. Could be he's seeking their support, or they have summoned William Ruto, the European nation. He's also summoning William Ruto about the danger ahead. You know, they have a lot of interest in Nairobi. They have investments here, they have foreign missions here, and here is a place where they have a lot of stake. I may not be wrong to also look at it this way, that probably the Western nation, rather Europe, is also looking for him and telling him that, look here, what's happening in the wake of what's happening in the country. Remember, it's about his win. Lastly, I think it's been summoned over Raila mass action, threatening the interest. Now, what will happen here is that, concerned of the danger ahead, Ruto will actually decide to find out, after trying to convince his team on alternative ways of addressing the problem, he decided to step out so that he will come back as a problem solver. Now, when Ruto comes back, probably because he's away for 4 days, that is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, up to Thursday, both of them are going to be there. When he comes back, probably he will receive a brief and then come out, look here, we need to solve the problem. By the way, when the problem narrowed down to Gachagua versus protesters and Gachagua versus Azimio, then Ruto will actually come in as a problem solver. To me, if there is an intention. But my clear point here is, you cannot just leave the country that way, knowing very well that there are very serious discussions going on in the country. Let's see what happens next.